Okay, and that gives you a hint of what I did on my summer vacation. Quick introduction, and um, the White Pass and Yukon route is not the Alaska Railroad. It's not the ones with the fancy Alaska trains and Mount McKinley. But you shouldn't be too disappointed that you can't see Mount McKinley because apparently it's visible only around 20% of the time. So you go up there to see this wonderful sight, and yeah. Oh, it's Denali, yes. Oh yeah, and it even says Denali up there. Okay, this is the one I went to see. Um, and it's located right about here in Alaska. And before the railroad was built, um, this is the way you got up to the gold fields, which is why they started to build the railroad. And it's about 800 miles from the Alaska Railroad. Okay, so the Klondike Gold Rush. Gold was found in 1896 in the Klondike, way up in here. And nobody, the rest of the world didn't find out about it for 6 to 9 months or something. And word got out, and a whole bunch of people go up there. And it's snow in the middle of summer, and it's deep snow in the winter. And the Mounties said, okay, if you want to come up the passes into Canada, you have to have 1,200 pounds of stuff. And they gave you a big list, things like food and axes and tents and shovels. And because I think people got on the boat in San Francisco and just went up with like a change of clothes. And you can't look for gold in that country like that. So in 1898, they start construction, and in 1898, the gold rush in the Klondike ends because gold was found in Nome, and everybody went stampeding off to Nome. And 2 years later, they finished the railroad. This is piles, whoops, pushing several buttons at once. This is piles of stuff people were accumulating to take up over the passes with them. A little bit more history. The railroad was very busy in World War II. They were bringing ore down out of Canada. They were taking materials and equipment up into Canada to build the highway. In 54, they started transitioning from steam to diesel. 1982, the railroad goes out of business. And then in 88, they restarted as a tourist line. And they don't go all the way. I don't think they go all the way to the end now. The main tourist line just goes up to the top of the hill. There are occasional excursions that go further inland to some lakes. So they've got 2 steam locomotives. I did not see one. They got 23 diesels, 92 passenger cars. I have no idea if I was in a restored car or a replica. Some of them are pretty old. Um, Most people get there by ship. You could drive there from here. You have to go through Canada. And once you get there, you can't get to any other part of Alaska. You have to go back into Canada again. We were late getting to the train because we were in a small cruise ship, 200 people. We had to park down in Haines and take a ferry boat up. We got there late. Um, they were hit really bad. Well, starting 5, 6 years ago, um, they used to dock ships here, and they can't do that anymore. And I'll show you why in a second. And then COVID hit them, and it just kept getting worse. But they were really open for business this summer. This is that circled place I showed you. These are 3 to 5,000 people ships. You can see you used to be able to get on board the trains right there. But notice this. They started having a series of landslides, and they decided the docks weren't safe. So this is looking down the main street at one of the other docks, another 3 to 5,000 person ship. They used to be able to dock 3 ships at a time. Now they can only dock 2 of the big ones, and that's not been helping them. So anyway, the real railroad. This is the main station, and the building on the right here is the National Park Service. This is a big chunk of this is national park related to the gold rush. There's a non-operating steam engine. You can see a live train being put together here. Yeah, this is yeah, and this is like the 3rd week of July this year, and you can see all the snow up. They didn't need to use the snow plow to get us going. There's a locomotive assembling a train outside the station. I didn't get a picture of the backside of the station because it was pouring rain by the time I got back there to do it. Um, so we're going up the railroad. You'll see red circles showing up over here. This is the area of the site of the picture. This caboose is available for rental from the National Forest Service. The railroad donated it to them, so you can stay there if you want. And there's a lot of hiking trails coming out of there. Um, this is the original White Pass Trail down in the valley below us. Now people take the Klondike Highway, which is on the other side of the valley or the canyon or whatever you want to call it from the railroad. This is one of the minibuses. Uh, my tour, we rode the train up. We took the minibuses down. Apparently, like once a month, you can ride the train both ways. This was not one of those days. Other people ride the bus up and take the train down. They've really got a system going on. So here we're looking at uh, the tunnel. There's a trestle and a tunnel. So we got just under 4 miles to gain. We got to go from 1,600 feet to 2,300 feet. So we'll be there in a minute. But before we get there, there's a former, come on, back up. There we go. Um, This was crew housing, and now they drop hikers off. And we were on the last or the next to last car in the train, and you can see there's quite a number of cars ahead of us, which led to some excitement a little later on. They got a little bit of equipment up there. There's space for a yard. It isn't, I think it used to be bigger than it is. Um, well, that's just scenery you see along the way. And now we're up close to the Tunnel Mountain site, and this is the train following us up from the station. The train goes back really off this picture. So there's a dozen cars or more coming up with it. It's it's narrow gauge. I think I heard a question. Yeah. Yeah. So if you've got like ON3 stuff, this is a buildable shelf layout. You could almost do it mile for mile in scale, kind of. So um, so here we're coming up on that trestle in the tunnel. And uh, what was great about this is at times on big curves like this, you could see a lot of the train. And we just keep getting closer, and you look at that trestle and you say, geez, it's only 100 years old. And then there's scenery along the way. Um, this was where the fun part was. They announced way before we got here that this bridge was taken out of commission, um, and we're not going to cross it. And built in 1901, it was the highest steel bridge in the world at the time. But as we're approaching, we keep turning towards it. It's like a ride at Disney World. You keep turning, and you say, they said we weren't going to go across it, but you're heading right for the thing. And you keep getting closer, and you see, obviously, you don't want to go across that. But then by the time you realize the front of the train must be well past that, yes, you realize you're not going over that thing. It, yeah, yeah. Well, in the trestle looks like they tore down part of it. It doesn't look like it's fallen down. It's even the wood part. Okay, so then you hit the summit, 20 miles up, and nobody's here anymore. Both countries moved their custom stations down off the summit because there's really nothing here. Where the custom stations are, there isn't much. Uh, but this is really, and then there's more scenery. And I say no trees in quotes because this green you see, that is fir or spruce, but knee deep. In places it gets to be, the trees grow about waist high. And then at the end, customs comes through. They were very nice and polite, and nobody got thrown off the train or got hauled off. But this is the station at Fraser. Uh, Almost every train trip stops here, but you can see it does run off here. There's a couple of lakes they say they stop at. And then you'll get to see uh, how long the trains are. This thing just seems to keep going and going, and you can see the pouring rain. We actually had sunshine on the way up, and then it started raining on the way down, and we had to wait for our ferry to show up under a not covered space. It was really fun. It got raining really heavy too. And I think this is one of the NER ones, NEC. It's not Alco and it's not uh I thought it was North American something. There was an implication, although it could be from Canada. And if you watch, some of these cars must have been built at the same time, and then there's others that weren't. Like this one has a like a freight door on it, and some of the windows are much wider and some are narrower, but it's like, there's 100 years worth of different builds on there. Yeah, yeah. This is the end of the day. Oh, okay. Or were you one of the lucky people that got you were at the right weekend? Oh, and it may be with the dock disasters and the COVID and stuff, they may have switched things. Um, oh, and that's the end of it.